Thank you for joining us. Good morning, and thank you for joining us. Today we've got Tami Bonnell on. She is our CEO for Exit Realty Corp International. And Tami and I have been working together for 21 years, and it's been fantastic to watch her. She started out like I did as a regional owner, and she's worked her way up through the ranks. And one thing you'll notice today, she's the real deal. She's genuine, and you will also pick up on the fact that she's been doing this for a long time, and she truly has vision and incredible leadership skills, and just a lot of sage wisdom. So thank you very much for joining us, and take it away, Tami.
First, I want to put a picture in your mind. It depends on where you are in the country on how this pandemic is impacting you. And there's probably more to do with gas lines where you guys are right now than anything to do with the pandemic, right? Some of you might even be watching this waiting in line to get gas. But the pandemic impacted an awful lot of people in a lot of ways. And it was one of those things that made people say, I'm present now. It stopped us. It stopped us in our tracks. And I want you to write down, if you have a pen, I'm present now. Because the more times you're in the present tense, the more you're going to accomplish, the better quality of life you're going to have, and the fuller everything is going to be for you. There's no doubt about it. But usually it takes something like the pandemic, the recession, the worst recession since the Depression, a relationship that's positive or negative, that's extreme or that's ending, right? Or even a diagnosis. But those are the things that usually stop us in our tracks and make us say, I'm present now, when we actually have the opportunity to be present all the time. And to me, the biggest thing about being present is I want to have a presence even when I'm not present. I want to have enough of an impact that even when I'm not here, there's going to be somebody there that's thinking to themselves, wow, this is having an impression on me, and I am absolutely positively present now. So the reason we chose personal power is because there are an awful lot of people that really need to hit the reset button, but there are actually a lot of people too that are kind of living on the sidelines. More people, believe it or not, are afraid of success than they are of failure. And part of it is the unknown. They don't know what's going to happen on that other side. Am I going to have the same relationships with people? Am I going to outgrow some of the people that I'm around? Am I going to be so busy that I won't be able to do the things that I really love to do? And there is nothing about that truly in being successful and growing. Successful is doing something that you really love and that you're really passionate about. And hopefully, as I'm talking today, you're going to discover a couple of points of things that will really make a difference and that will really resonate with you of, wow, I can see myself doing that. I can see myself in that lane. That will really have an impact for me. I have a tattoo on my back. It's from losing a bet. But it's from The Last Samurai, and it's actually be true to yourself and you'll be able to lead others. Thankfully, it's written in Japanese, so it's a lot smaller than be true to yourself and you'll be able to lead others. But it's a great constant reminder that when we're in the zone, when we're in the lane, when we're doing the things that we're supposed to be doing, that we know we were born for, we can accomplish absolutely anything. And you know when you're there, you feel the best about yourself when you do something you didn't know you could. And when it doesn't matter what that is. I'll give you a couple of great examples. For me, my favorite thing is pointing people in the right direction, catching somebody doing something good and showing them something in themselves they didn't see before. It might be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 degrees. It might be 50 degrees. It might be literally a complete turnaround for them because they just never saw it because of what they were exposed to, the experiences they had growing up, who they were surrounding themselves with, that it was just totally foreign to them. And then all of a sudden they grabbed it and realized, oh my gosh, people become, and especially for the brokers that are on the line, people become what we tell them they can be. People have the ability to become that. And really, it's just the only difference between people is what we were exposed to, what our experiences were. But it's not the circumstances you're in, it's the choices you make. Every single day, it has nothing to do with the circumstances you're in. It has everything to do with the choices that you make. So, authenticity equals influence. And that is when you're being really true to yourself. You can influence others and you can have an impact. People can tell when you're being artificial. People can tell when you're phoned it in. You can tell when you phoned it in, right? I've left on planes before when I've done too much and I've been really exhausted, and I've hopped on the plane and thought on a scale of 1 to 10, that was probably a 4.5. And then I've just been so furious with myself. I want to own it. I want it to be between a 9 and an 11. I want it to always be in that place. And it can't be unless you're really being your authentic self and you're really paying attention. So here's the first thing when you're trying to find specific lanes for you that will really work out well. And it might even be, and most of you are listing and selling real estate or managers or broker owners, maybe some of you are affiliates, but most of you are in sales. And it's looking at what are the lanes that are going to work the best for me so that I'm going to get results all the time. Right now we're in controlled chaos where I live. I'm in Massachusetts. We lovingly call it Taxachusetts. And properties are selling between $100,000 and $150,000 over asking price, and without an appraisal and without a home inspection. So yikes, where do you think those properties are going to be 10 years from now? But we have this chaos. But the issue is we have to be steady and consistent about doing the right things that make sense for us. That's how we become effective. And it's doing those right things steadily and consistently. This is a controlled chaos lane that we're in right now with real estate. But you can gain real estate and do business all the time, but you have to be consistent about some of the things, and finding out what those things are that best suit you really does make a difference. So ask your allies, mortgage company, appraisers, home inspectors, insurance companies, ask them honestly, where do you see my best gifts? Where do you see my best skill set? Ask your friends, ask your family, mortgage, title, how do they see that you could contribute best? How do they see that you could contribute to the best of your ability and really make a difference? Some people are great on the phone. Some people are incredible at networking. Some people are amazing door knocking. Some people, with Exit, we look at personality profiles, and we have some C personalities that are very detail oriented, but you know what? They might be the best problem solver in the world. And so they're always going to be able to come up with the solution. Maybe they're great with investors. Maybe they're great with something they're going to represent, but it's starting off with that point. Number one, find out, and then ask yourself effective questions. When do I feel the best about myself? When do I really feel the most joy? Because that's probably pointing you towards a direction of what it is that you should be doing. I know for me, speaking, showing people how to make money, and showing people something that I see in them that will bring out the best in them, that's where my lane is. That's where my zone is. Making Exit famous in a good way, being a good forecaster. Literally, people would pay me not to sing happy birthday, so we know that's not a skill set. I'm not going to ever fix anybody's computer. I'm not going to be the detail person that's going to input data, but all of those people are necessary. It's just finding out where that lane is. And you can succeed in anything, no matter what your personality is, as long as you're in your right lane. So get out of your own way. List a list of pros and cons of, asking yourself effective questions. What do I love doing? What don't I love? What brings me the most joy? What gets the most and the best out of me? And really finding out what that is. Where are my priorities? What is that number one thing that I really want? What is that dream? What am I doing this for? Why am I doing this? If we can all go back and start with why, we'll really excel. I'm going to give you a couple of phenomenal examples. We have a group in Texas. They're called the Wolf Pack. And it's 4 women that wanted to be moms first. And so they all teamed up together to work together as a team. And they are the Wolf Pack. They have each other's back. They never miss a recital. They never miss a parent-teacher conference. They never miss an event that they want to have with their kids, but they've all cross-trained with each other so that they can all serve the consumer to the best of their ability. They're all making more money than they did as individuals, with 4 of them working together as a team. They're making more than $100,000 a year apiece. They don't feel guilty when they get home because they're doing the things they want. They found their lane. We have a woman that was a widow, and she was widowed after 25 years of marriage, raising 6 kids. She had a master's degree, sent out 1,000 resumes, and never got a response. And everyone said, you should be in real estate. But you know what? After going through the experience she went through, she realized, and in real estate, she does a program once a month on Saturday mornings and teaches widows, single moms, and single women about finances. And she educates them so that they will never, ever be in a financial dilemma. They will never run into a problem. She's helped some of them come into the real estate industry. She's helped some of them become first-time home buyers. She's helped some of them actually create true financial wealth. But she built a lane. She built a niche for herself that she's really excelling at. And you can do this in your whole entire life, not just for your real estate business, right? Time. It's the most valuable asset you have, right? You sharing time with me today, it really has an impact on me. But it's the most valuable asset you have. You've got to think about what it is you're doing with your time. We spend 20% of our time getting 80% of our results. 20% of our time. You know why? We have lists of to-do lists. Typically on the to-do list, it's stuff that other people want us to do or that we feel responsible for, but it's not that magic lane. If you go back to that 20%, I've had the privilege of breaking 7 world records in my life in sales. And I can tell you there's nothing fancy about me. But I went back and kept going over it and over and over again. Where is that 20%? Where is that 20%? And how can I make that 20% turn into 40%, 60%, 80% so that I can maximize on my time and get a higher return on investment? And it really did make a huge difference. First caveat from real estate for all of you. And Michael's very nice saying I'm 30, but I turned 60 in December and I sold my first house when I was 13. So I've been doing this for a really long time. You can do the math. And the thing is with real estate of looking at where you're spending your time and what are you getting for value. We have a lot of disruptors that are out there right now. And I'm going to tell you 2 things that a disruptor cannot disrupt. And that is personalization and skill set. Personalization and skill set. The number 1 reason I broke world records is because I personalized it to that individual. I Googled them. I friended them on Facebook. I connected with them on LinkedIn. I found out what was really important to them. Don't worry about doing a fancy CMA the second you walk in the door. Don't worry about all the gadgets and gizmos galore. Worry about the human that's in front of you. What are your real estate dreams? Where do you see yourself in the next 1, 3, 5 years? What's your biggest concern? How do you prefer to be communicated with and how often? Everything goes back to personalizing to that individual. The more you can do that, I'm going to tell you, those people are not going to only be clients for life. They're going to refer everybody and anybody. And the same thing is true for recruiting, for brokers that are on the line. The same thing is true. The more I personalize it, here's a great statement that Steve Morris said that I didn't even think of. And it's for people with exit, because you get to introduce people into the company and you get to sponsor them. The agent chooses, the broker and the manager don't choose who's going to work there. The agent chooses who they're going to follow. The agent chooses who they're going to have a respect line for. Once you start shifting that in your mind, you realize that you've got to personalize it. Well, you know what? The consumer chooses who they're going to work with too. And the more I personalize it and the more value I add, nobody's going to be able to get away from that. Value equals income. If I could write that down absolutely everywhere, the more value you provide, it's not even just in income, by the way. It's in everything that escalates in your life. The more value you provide, the more present you are. I don't care who you're in front of. The more present you are, the more quality of life you're going to end up with. You're going to get a return on every effort you put in. Think of it as the compound effect. Some of you aren't old enough to remember, but that compound interest. Every time I couldn't wait to take my passbook and go see how much interest I earned from a savings account and saving every single week. Daughter of Irish immigrants, it's definitely what we did. But think about every time you're in front of somebody that you're going to actually put a compound interest into them. You're going to add value and you're going to pour into them every single time you're in front of them. Well, I got to find out what's really important to them, not what's important to me. I'm not going to think about what I'm going to say next. I'm going to think about what it is that they really want, and they're going to steer the conversation. I'm just going to do enough homework to make sure that it's going to add value no matter what. So even if I just wrote it down that value equals income, I'm going to have it in front of me all the time. Be bold. Really be bold. Don't be afraid to try something that's new. Failure isn't making a mistake or not doing something right. Failure is not trying. And sometimes you have to set a goal. You have to set daily goals, right? I have to set daily goals. What do I want to accomplish today? And sometimes that's just because of the frame of mind you're in. I'm going to make one phone call. I'm going to send one email. I'm going to send a text. I'm going to connect with one person I haven't reached out to in a long time. And I'm going to do it that simply. And sometimes it's those long-term goals, right? And you always want to have at least one personal goal along with your business goals. My personal goal right now, and it's 4.5 years out, I want to become a master. So I'm training in Taekwondo, and I've been a martial artist for 30 years, but I jumped back into it again. For me, I know how I can stick with something. I have to set a really strong goal that's in front of me, and I can do it. I've done triathlons, I've done marathons, and the reason is because I set that goal, then I could train to get to the point of being able to do that. Martial arts has always been important to me, and now having that goal in front is a big picture. For the picture I picture in my mind is that my husband is sitting there in a I Love Jeannie costume saying, "Yes, master." But the truth is he's a master already, so that's never going to happen. But it does make me smile, so it helps me to stick with it. But I remind myself of that every time I don't want to pull into the school and I don't want to train. Every time I don't want to do something because you just want to hit the snooze button, you remind yourself of why you're doing this in the first place. Maybe there's something magical you want to do for your kids. I'll give you a great one. We had a broker in Tennessee interviewed an agent that was joining his company. She's literally has only been with the company for 1.5 years. Interviewed her and asked her what she wanted, and she said she wanted to make enough money to provide a service dog for a veteran suffering from PTSD. And I had just sent him the book, The Dream Manager. He asked her what her dreams were. She said that was her dream, and she wanted to earn enough money to do that in the first year. And he said, how about if we do it together as a company, because we have the spirit of exit, and so money from every transaction goes into charity. So they did a fundraiser, and a month ago they were able to actually provide, it's $25,000. They were able to provide 30,000, so it's going towards the next one. And she was able to achieve that dream. It never left her. She had the picture of a veteran that she met that was with a service dog with her all the time. And so maybe it's something like that. Maybe it's something charitable, but it's always about making sure that I'm in front of it. We're leading every single day, but the more deliberate we are about our leadership, the better off we're going to be. So it's always about doing more of what matters. Productivity is not about doing more. It's about doing more of what matters. It goes back to that 80-20 rule. So what am I deeply passionate about? What activities do I feel that I'm really good at? What activities do I really think that I should get off my plate and give to somebody else? You know, they have a saying that if you don't have an assistant, you are one. But maybe it's somebody that could even be an intern that's going to help you for an hour or two a week, and they're going to get credits at college. Maybe it's, or even in high school, that's somebody that can do things technology-wise that you can't do. It's just determining what are the things that I want to do. And maybe it's not even today. Maybe some of these things you still have to do until you get to this point. Well, now figure out what that point is so that you can grow to that next level. And, you know, there's a very big difference between a disciplined life and a busy life. And discipline doesn't mean that I'm stuck doing day-to-day things and that I'm stuck in the same habits and stuck. It doesn't mean that. It means that I have enough self-discipline because I have a goal in front of me that's worth enough that I'm willing to stick with whatever it is in order to get from point A to point B. And, you know, I can tell you that Michael Washburn, who's the regional owner for the Carolinas, him and I together have eaten steaks together, and we've eaten ramen together. We were through the worst recession since the Depression, and I can tell you that it's a person that can stick with it even in those toughest times when you're really scraping bottom and you've got to pull yourself up in order to be able to lead with everybody else, and you've got to push yourself through something. Maybe there's something you're pushing through right now. And maybe there's somebody that you could have a conversation with that would actually really help you. When we align our values with our dreams, we grow really quickly as a leader. When we align our values with our dreams and they match up, we can actually hang on to self-discipline. That's why this personal power is so important. We can hang on to that self-discipline and we can really make a big difference and really make unbelievable strides. You'll look back, if you stick with it, you'll look back a year from now and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did this. But you got to remember, why do you want this? What do you want to accomplish? And how will it impact you and others around you? Because maybe it's something you're doing for your family. Maybe it's something that you're doing for a cause. It doesn't matter what it is. It matters that I know why I'm doing it, and what I really want that accomplishment to be. I need to know what it is I want, and I need to know how it'll impact. If I can close my eyes and picture, how's that going to feel when I do this? How do you feel when you do this? And you can actually picture that in your mind. It's a place that you can always go back to on those tough days when you want to hit the snooze button. It's a place you can go back to. Invest in people. You will always get your greatest return if you invest in people. If you add value to human beings' lives, you will always get your greatest return. Don't worry so much about the money, because if you add value to people, you're going to get a return. Look, at the beginning of the pandemic, when we were all sheltered in place, our major competitors, laid off people in droves. They did it through Zoom calls without looking at anybody's face. They did it through phone calls without looking at anybody's face. They did it through mass emails. We didn't lay one single person off. We said the human element is too valuable to us, and we launched a program, a stimulus package for our agents and our brokers and our regional owners worth in excess of $50 million. How can we get everybody to ramp up and get out of where they are right now? You can do anything you make up your mind to do. If anything, the pandemic made us better neighbors, better part of a community. How do you continue with that? How do you keep that consistency? And how does it stay in your lane? Don't sign up for something that isn't in your lane, because you won't be able to stick with it. But you can stick with the things, and you can stick with anything for a period of time, but you can really stick with things that fit your lane and that really make it work. So, when I add value to somebody else, I have to learn it, I have to do it, and I have to teach it. Who learns more, the teacher or the student? The teacher always gets better at their job by helping others. So we want to be able to do the same, right? A couple of pinpoints that I think are so important for everybody. Number one, surround yourself with people that bring out the best in you. Probably everybody on this call has somebody. It could be a family member, it could be somebody in your office, it could be somebody you surround yourself with business-wise, but we have somebody that doesn't bring the best out in us. Maybe they jump on that last nerve, or they pull you down. They point you in another direction, or you feel guilty because you're succeeding and maybe they're not. You have to make sure that the people that are on your bus, the people that you're surrounding yourself with, make you want to be a better person. Those are the people that you want to make sure that are on your team. You might have some excess baggage. You might have somebody that you need to have to wish well, or at the very least put boundaries on, that they're not allowed to interfere during this period of time. We all need to have certain boundaries in our life in order to stay going forward. Keep people around you that help keep you grounded too. Those people that help keep you down to earth. You don't want to ever get too big for yourself, but those people that are realistic and they're really honest with you and they'll tell you the truth. Maybe telling you the truth that right now you're working too hard and you're throwing yourself into this too much and you're spending too much time doing it and you need to find a little bit more balance. You need to start taking better care of your health. You want to have those people that are tough but fair, that are really honest with you. That will tell you that kind of stuff. You need to take a vacation, you need to take a break, you need to take a day off. Whatever it is, that they are those people. I'm not talking about people that boss you around or try and control. I'm talking about those people that really know you well enough to say, just like little kids, you need a timeout. The more that you remove stressors from your life, the better off you'll be. Targets, tactics, and timelines. What do I want to accomplish, right? How am I going to accomplish it? And when am I going to accomplish it by? Because then I have something that's measurable and I can keep track of it. I have to test for a tip every quarter in martial arts. So I have a list of all the things I need to accomplish that are in that. When I go out to a region to go visit, I get a printout of everything on memo so I can see where the strengths are and I can see what needs to be worked on. I can see who's doing really great things and who needs a little bit of help. I can have that whole picture in front of my mind. So I have the targets, tactics, and timelines in front of me to go have conversations. You want to make sure that you have that for you and the people that you invest in. If you're investing in anybody, you're coaching anybody, you want to know what their targets, tactics, and timelines are. Maybe it's somebody in your family. If you have trouble sticking with something right now, and it's definitely easy, it's a really surreal world, picture somebody really influential that you really value. I don't care if it's one of your kids or somebody that coaches you or somebody that you really admire. Picture them sitting on your shoulder, watching you. You've got to measure your impact. Am I holding up to what I wanted to do? Am I really getting great stuff accomplished? Am I adding value? What did I do today? So at the end of every day, I want to look at what worked today, right? I want to know what I did and I want to measure myself, but then I want to ask myself what worked today so that when I leave, I'm in the best frame of mind I possibly can. I close my eyes, I take 2 minutes, you can completely shift your attitude. What worked today, and write down what worked so that tomorrow you're going back to things that worked, even if today wasn't the best day. There's always something that worked. There's always something that made a huge difference. Bring your plan to life. If you've ever heard me talk, and next week I think I'm on the recruiting program that we're doing on Tuesday. I'm on for the 6-week action plan, and there's one in the RC that's been recorded as well. But I always plan in advance, halfway through the month, looking ahead over the next 6 weeks. What do I have for appointments? How can I maximize on that opportunity? How can I maximize on that experience? How can I make that person feel valued? How can I make that person feel loved? How can I make sure that they know that I really care? How can I personalize this and also deliver a skill set and show them things that maybe someone else can't show them? That's how I bring it to life. So I'm going to give you a few bonus round tips that I think are really important based on real estate today, and then we'll throw it out to questions. You live in the Carolinas, and so you've had a few storms, right? You've been hit by a few storms here and there. Climate change is definitely having an impact. We have man-made crisis. We also have nature-made, right? We have floods, we have tornadoes, we have hurricanes. I believe that we'll see climate change foreclosures in our lifetime, but we also have man-made ones, and it doesn't matter whether that's a shooting or the pandemic. We have man-made crises as well. There's a program from CKM Solutions. We were the very first company to partner up with them, and I'm giving this to you for ideas. The Crisis Knowledge Management course, you can get certified in. Connie worked for FEMA for several years before becoming a 4-time best-selling author. And if you want to be the expert in your community, what do you think it would do to your community if you came in and taught them everything they needed to have available on hand to be prepared for a crisis? And if you were the one that made them remember to bring money with them, to bring valuable pictures with them, if you were the one to make sure that they remembered, so that you were the person that made them remember something at the last minute that helped them to save somebody in their family, or to save a pet, or to save all of their valuables in one place, how far do you think that would go? How much impact do you think that could have on your community? You can even add a chapter into her book on crisis knowledge management, and I took the course, it's phenomenal. That might be a lane for you. I can tell you for sure that's going to be ongoing. It started off in millions of dollars 10 years ago, and it's in the trillions of dollars today on crises that are happening. Why do you think we have flood zones shown on Realtor.com now, right? There's always going to be something that's going on somewhere, and you could be the one that does that. Maybe you want to get a senior designation so that you can relate with people that are seniors. They have the most money that's out there right now, and most of them have the most land. We hear about a shortage of inventory. There's no shortage of inventory. There's a shortage of listings. There's tons of property out there, right? Although there is a need for more. And so getting your senior designation is a really good idea. I would have a conversation with baby boomers and civics today. If I was listing and selling real estate, I can tell you exactly what I do. I'd get the crisis knowledge management. I'd take the crisis knowledge management course, even if I just had it in the back of my mind for my own family. But I might want to give back and do it in the community, but it'll at least tell me. I don't believe any education is ever wasted. I would get my senior designation. Chris Sheffield has wrote a book on the parent care solution. You can get it on Amazon. It's brilliant for understanding and having crucial conversations. Most of us grew up in a generation that we didn't talk to our parents about what they were going to do if they needed to transition. And unfortunately, most people wait until it's too late. They're in an assisted living facility, they're in a care facility, and we've all seen families that have blown up and not ended up with connections with each other. I would get a senior designation and I would read the parent care solution. Maybe that's an opportunity for you to go in and teach and have conversations. But I'll tell you right now, if I was representing real estate, listing and selling real estate, and you can get the data from so many places, it's not funny, I would go in and have conversations with baby boomers and civics. More than 50% of them, the majority of the equity they have that's going to give them an opportunity to be able to retire with grace or not is in their primary residence. A lot of them actually own their properties outright. The prices are crazy right now, right? It's a great opportunity to go have a conversation with them as they're getting a little bit older. Is it better for them to sell it now and pull out as much cash as they possibly can? Or do you think they wait a handful of years from now, and then where do you think the market's going to be, and what do you think the value of their property is going to be? At the very least, it's a caring conversation of, I care enough about you to have this conversation, and then they can make the decision themselves. But sometimes they're not thinking of it that way. They're just thinking of what the escalating cost is, not what they're going to get for a return. I would definitely have a conversation with them. I would have a conversation with investors as well, because our investors out there, 72% of them are mom and pop shops. These are people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s that own properties. Talk about a first-time home buyer heaven. Those places might need a little bit of paper and paint and a few little updates, but what a great opportunity for either an investor that wants to come in and take over, or somebody that wants to end up with some first-time home buyer opportunities. 72% of them are mom and pop shops, but nobody's having a conversation with them, and a lot of them, because we had a moratorium on not being able to, people not having to pay rent for over a year, a lot of them are running really skinny right now. And it would be the best solution for them. But they just need to have somebody put the cards in front of them and say, look, I just wanted to have a conversation. You make the decision yourself, but here's what I'm seeing. Here's the picture I'm seeing. New construction. And I'm going to give you a couple places and a couple people to have chats with, but new construction is going on like crazy, but we're 4 million homes short across the United States. We're 4 million new construction homes short. Everywhere you drive and turn around, there's another new property that's going up. And I'm going to tell you, there are changes that are zoning laws that are changing like crazy. Most of you that have heard me talk, I always talk about having a 30,000-foot view, paying attention to Inman News, Risk Media, the Wall Street Journal, Realtor.org, so that I know the things that are going on that are trends, and I have the big picture, that 30,000-foot view. But the 2,000-foot view, your entire state and the street level view, comes from having a dirty dozen. A dozen people that work on the business, not in it, appraisers, home inspectors, mortgage companies. But I'm going to add two today that I'd really pay attention to you. And if I was listing and selling real estate today, I would pay attention. In fact, I'm so hooked on it, I still pay attention to it anyway. And that is planning boards and municipalities, because the zoning laws are changing. What if you had an opportunity to match up a developer and a contractor? What if you had an opportunity to provide an opportunity for a contractor? And you could provide that opportunity by showing them something changed. What if you had that opportunity to go back to somebody that owns an enormous farm and you just found out the zoning laws change, and now instead of $5,000 an acre, it's $50,000 an acre or $100,000 an acre, depending on where you're living geographically? Has their picture changed? But the person that's going to go in and have the conversation is going to change everything. In my marketplace, we had a change with where I live. There are only 9,000 people. I live in a horse apple orchard farms all old, built in the 1800s kind of farm place. And typically people lived in the main house, and then they had an in-law apartment that people that helped on the farm lived in. And then as the people got older owning the farm, they went into the in-law apartment and the kids took over the farm and took over the house. But somebody moved into the town and changed that so that they made some of these properties 2 families, even though the property is 7,000 square feet and the apartment is 800 or 1,000 or 1,500 square feet. And so anything over 800 square feet, they made it into a 2 family, and it made the values go down on all those properties. Well, they changed the zoning law now so that they are all ancillary, and it impacted 500 out of the 3,000 homes in the town I live in. Only one person picked up on it that I went out and talked to, a real estate office in our marketplace, and they got 49 listings in 1 week from just having that conversation. You want to be ahead of that curve. It's that Wayne Gretzky thing, right? You're going to be where the puck's going to be. But if you make a connection with somebody, anytime something changes, and all the information is a matter of public record, so that you can get that information from your town, your city, your municipality, so that you can see, is there anything changed that could have an impact on buyers and sellers that I could be ahead of that opportunity? Next, movers. You know, Forbes.com has a great moving chart, a migration chart. Forbes.com has a great migration chart that shows you where most people are moving to and from, and people are definitely moving into the Carolinas with a vengeance. But if you knew where they were moving from and you could do referrals that close back and forth, how many more opportunities would you be able to see? You want to find, make a connection with a moving company that has a great reputation. And if you have an opportunity, make friends with a moving company that is moving businesses as well, because how cool would it be to get the relocation for all the people that are moving in along with it? A lot of times they go to the banks first and they tell the banks, so there might be somebody there that you have an opportunity, that there's new companies coming in, and they find out ahead of time. Even the Chamber of Commerce can give you some of that opportunity, but those I would definitely pay attention to right now. I'm going to just touch on one more thing, and then I'm going to turn it over to questions. And that is that I can't emphasize enough, if you are agents that are out in the marketplace and you're with Exit, there's 5 things that you should be utilizing right now. Mobile business card. There are going to be times when people don't want to touch a card, and you have a mobile business card that gives you control, and you're never without an opportunity to be able to connect with people. Mine's 85377. You punch in TAMI. It's impressive at the very least when you're at networking events, because people say, how do I get it? The smart sign technology. We have an agent in Florida. That smart sign technology, I text Exit to 85377 and the listing comes to my phone because I'm driving around looking at properties. We have an agent right when the pandemic hit, 33 years old in Florida. She sent it out to everybody she went to college with. She has a master's degree. She was a teacher. She was making $32,000 as a teacher. She jumped into real estate. She broke $100,000 her first year in real estate, and she maximized on the tools. But she sent it out to everybody she went to college with and said, look, if you're going crazy, you're ripping your hair out, you're thinking of ending your relationship because you're all locked in too much, go for a drive. And if you run into a listing, text 85377. You'll get the information sent. Everybody loves looking at houses. Hope you have fun. And she ended up with 11 referrals that closed from March to December that made her $61,000 just by utilizing the tool. How else can I use that tool would be what I would be thinking. Our digital marketing strategy, it's impressive, and you can prepare in advance so you can maximize on exposure. And our Connect app, so that you can connect everybody. The consumer wants speed and transparency. You want to make sure you do it. The Exit Ad Center, even if you start off with a small amount of money, I know some of you, a lot of you are using Zillow, and I'm not telling you not to use Zillow. I'm just telling you that 89% of Zillow's income is coming from realtors as they're becoming our competition. So I would start to look at ways that I could utilize other advertising to make up for it and see about getting a return. Our Facebook ads, we have amazing algorithms and we're getting an incredible return. Our Google ads, we're getting an incredible return from. So I'd pay attention to that. And last but not least, I'd pay attention to sponsoring. There are people out there that were commission salespeople. I don't care if they worked at Coach. You're noticing malls becoming more and more empty, right? They're going to have zoning changes too. We're going to see an unbelievable amount of them turn into condo projects. And assisted living facilities and everything else. But there were a lot of commissioned salespeople that worked in those stores that sold shoes at Macy's and sold pocketbooks at Coach. Have a conversation with people that you know already have a selling skill set if they're brand new. If you're already doing a transaction with people, people want to matter. And an awful lot of leadership ducked and covered during the pandemic. They didn't want to go have a conversation because they didn't know what to say. It's a great opportunity to have a conversation. You know, it takes 20 seconds of courage to have that conversation. I'm a huge fan of just 20 seconds of courage. You know that John Bon Jovi, who's from New Jersey, a New Jersey native, he sent out 1,000 cassettes. That's how far back Bon Jovi goes. He sent out 1,000 cassettes trying to get his music out there. Nobody paid attention. He didn't even get rejection letters. He didn't get anything sent back the majority of the time. And he listened to a radio station that played his kind of music in his community. And he drove around that for months trying to work up the courage to get in. And he heard the DJ that he really liked mentioning that he liked a certain kind of pizza. And he actually drove around with pizza in his car a couple of times before he got the 20 seconds of courage. He brought the pizza in and sat down and had a conversation. The guy had a slice of pizza with him, asked him if he had a demo, and obviously the rest is history. It just took 20 seconds of courage. I definitely know that we can muster up 20 seconds of courage, especially if I have a big enough why in front of me to make a difference. So hopefully that makes you have more control of your personal power, and hopefully you picked up a couple of tips that will add value to what you're doing. I'm more than happy to answer any questions while I'm here. Mike, I'll turn it over to you in case there are questions.
Thanks, Tami. I saw one pop up. Somebody was wanting to know about the crisis management course. I think you mentioned CKM Solutions, Connie.
Crisis Knowledge Management. Exit actually became the very first ones to approve them as an approved supplier because we know that we want to make a change. First in wins, but we really believe strongly in this opportunity to be able to take the course. So you can actually go find it in the Resource Center.
A Resource Center. Fantastic. That's great. Well, good deal. That was the one question I saw pop up. And I noticed you mentioned Christine, her book, Parent Care Solutions. That's our next training next month is how to dominate the senior market. And she talks about that because you're right. That's an incredible market. We were talking the other day, somebody sent out some postcards just recently. And, it was like 500 postcards. And everybody that called back in, they talked to, that had the conversation, were in their 60s, 70s, 80s.
Right. We're going to see a huge transfer of wealth, and it's going to happen in two ways, by the way. One is that we're going to see a tremendous amount of seniors. They're going to be selling their property. They're going to be getting these opportunities, and they're going to be able to give some money to their kids. But we're also going to see a huge transfer of wealth, that there are going to actually be more wealthy women than we've ever seen. Part of that is because men die younger. And part of that is because they're up and coming. So, guys, practice yes, ma'am. Just kidding. But as we start to see that transfer, you want to be ahead of that curve and see that opportunity. And when you can add value to a family's life and you can help keep a family glued together by having the right conversations, I do something good for you. You want to do something good for you. I do something good for your mom. You want to do whatever I want. And I'm not saying it in an arrogant way. You are so loyal to the people that help you and help your family. And so it's a great opportunity. And the book is phenomenal.
And I just saw Olga's question come up again. Are we in a bubble? And when do you see it bursting? I watch YouTubes at night.
Let me tell you my crystal ball. First, we're not in a bubble right now because there's so much demand. Millennials are the biggest demand we have, and we have a shortage of properties to purchase. And I'm not just talking about we have a shortage of listings. And that's why I told you about the places I'd go if I was looking for listings. But we also need to have more new construction coming out. We have more multi-generational households than we've ever seen. And millennials are a larger group of individuals than baby boomers are. They are a larger percentage of the population. So we're not going to see a bubble right now. Is this going to shift? Yes. My best estimate of when it's going to shift is probably somewhere in 2023. And I believe that it's going to be strong through this year and strong through next year. There's going to be more people that are going to be secure, that are going to list their properties because they're not as afraid of COVID because of people getting vaccinated. There are going to be more people that are going to have their eyes open that while this is the last opportunity for me to be able to do this. But you've got to remember that 4.5 million to 6 million properties sell every single year. So we never run out of it. People move because of their circumstances, whether they're making money or not. So for people in real estate, it's who gets the business. If I have to learn about short sales and foreclosures, right now we have more people that are in default on their mortgage than we've ever had, even during the worst recession since the Depression. And but a lot of those are going to start paying because they had an opportunity to shift and not pay a mortgage payment for a year. A lot of them are going to pay, but there are an awful lot of them with a really low credit score that aren't going to pay. And so we are going to see some foreclosures through this period of time, but many more of them are going to happen 2023 and beyond. And you can't stay going at this rate forever. Right now it's going at this rate, but you can't stay going at this rate forever. It won't match up. But my best guesstimate is honestly, we still have at least a year and a half of this before, and it'll slow down before it stops, right? It'll slow down. This crazy escalation will slow down. It'll level off a little bit, but we'll still have a tremendous amount of sales because there's a lot of need. And then it'll slow down a little bit, and then we'll start to see some of those people that are struggling financially that jumped into crazy stuff. I mean, I've never seen. Oh, one more thing for a suggestion, by the way. And I highly recommend that you talk to somebody that's really proficient with Fannie Mae. Fannie Mae has a program out there for first-time home buyers that goes up to 700 grand. But they have a first-time home buyer program that, you know, with all these escalating prices, a lot of these people are borrowing money from their parents and their grandparents, right? So that they can make up the difference because the property's not going to appraise and they still need to get a mortgage. And so a lot of families are giving up their nest egg to help their kids. And Fannie Mae has a program that you can refinance 6 months after the purchase, and they'll use the comps that happened during this last 6 months. So as the properties are escalating, so now they can actually have an opportunity to be able to pull some cash out, which will provide somebody else another opportunity. And so far, and I've been speaking about 10 times a week on Zoom, and I've been speaking probably every other week. I've been on planes and been out to locations, and I've only run into 3 people that actually knew about it, that I had a conversation with. So I highly recommend talking to a mortgage professional about what the opportunity is.
We've got a question there. Somebody asked if Exit Realty offers training for agents, and the answer to that is absolutely.
We literally have training from I just got my license, now what do I do, all the way to the consummate professionals making millions of dollars, and understanding webinars, techinars, live interactive, total immersion, so that you can learn the way that you learn best, but also understanding yourself better, understanding personality profiles, so you can really forge a connection with people, because that's going to be what's going to make the difference. I'm telling you, personalization and skill set is where it's at.
Fantastic. By the way, where it's at will be May 26th. We'll be in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina for a regional rally and training that day. Tammy's going to join us, and so that's going to be.
And I'm not going to talk about what I talked about today.
Yeah, so it'll be excellent. So we'd love to see you there. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Does anybody else have any more questions
before we go?
I'm not sure about the resource center you was talking about for the crisis management course.
That's Exit Realty.
Okay, so I'm not a part of.
Okay,
Exit
but you can
Realty.
actually go Connie Myers.
Okay.
And if you text me, I'll send you her contact information. But Connie Myers, CONIMEYERS, you can actually look her up. Crisis Knowledge Management, CKM Solutions is what it is. Crisis Knowledge Management Solutions. And if you look it up, you can find her that way too.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Very good. Thanks, Carmen. All righty. Well, listen, thank you, everybody. Be safe. Hope you find some gas if you're down here in the Carolinas. And take care. We'll see you soon. Okay.
Thank you so much.